in the matters 24 TR 112, 25 CM 30, 25 CM 125, County of Burnett, State of Wisconsin versus Victoria Mott. The state appears through District Attorney Kevin Schmidt in person. Ms. Mott appears in person with counsel Joel Veliski. We're set today in this matter for the sentencing part of this case. We did have Ms. Mott here on August 14th, in which she pled guilty to violating a harassment injunction times 3 counts. Ms. Bauer, we have 2 victim impact statements. One may come at a time and sit at that black desk. You can state your full name for the record or your initials, whatever you prefer.
Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to speak today.
And I'm hearing already that it sounds emotional or like it has emotion. And so I'm going to just let you know, if you need time to stop, I'd rather you stop, take a breath, take as long as you need to compose yourself, because again, it gets difficult for my court reporter to understand.
I'm requesting that Victoria Mott gets full punishment for all violations she incurred. It's been proven that Victoria cannot accept any implications, as she has not seen the consequences in her actions. She repeatedly violates the restraining order against her, and yet nothing has deterred her from the fear or constant harassment she has put on this family. While we have been on this constant merry-go-round for the last several years with Victoria, we are hopeful that today, sentencing, that Victoria will finally see the hurt she has caused our family, my husband, and myself, along with our entire family, had to deal with her showing up randomly whenever she feels like damaging property, also almost running over my husband on the property, driving over our septic system, doing donuts in our yard, the constant fear of vandalism, physical violence that she had incurred on me. This is all we've endured is not easy to be explainable. Our family should feel safe in our home. It should not feel that our property can be damaged at any time of the day. Your Honor, we ask for peace. We would like to also request an extension on our restraining order for the maximum allowed or per your discretion. We truly hope that Victoria has time to reflect on what she has damaged, what she has done. We have both, me and my husband, have traveled many times back and forth from here to other properties that we had, leaving work, spending several days at the property on numerous occasions, because we did not feel that it would be safe if we were not there, even with the security cameras that we put up. The defendant has proven her inability to acknowledge or to stop showing up. She continues to be there, even after, like right after we were in court. So I urge you to honestly sentence her to maximum penalty. No one should have to do this. No one should have to live like this. not for just my sake, my husband's sake, my grandkids, and even my kids that are underage. We can't enjoy the property or properties around the area because of this. How would you like it if you're laying on your couch sleeping in the middle of the night and she drives around your property recklessly, screaming profanity outside the window? This is not one time. This is several times. She has not stopped. And I don't think she will until you honestly make her pay for what she's done. So I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Haskins. I do have to address one thing. You did ask for an extension of your restraining orders. This is not the proper venue to ask for that. And plus, they are through 2027. So there's plenty of time to look and assess before you were to ask for something like that. But in the criminal case, I cannot go to the civil matter and adjust that. Okay, just letting you know that part.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Haskins?
My name is Jason Haskins, and I am Miss Christy Haskins' husband. A lot of the stuff overlaps. Do you want me to go through it all again?
You may. This is your time to let me know what you want me to know.
So basically, starting on July 14th, 23, there was traumatic episodes with Miss Mott, and basically on our property, continually telling me how she's an independent woman, she doesn't need help. Very violent, always violent towards my wife more so than I. Spent the money on an ADT system with 5 cameras. The cameras seemed to always be in the position that didn't catch her, meaning she would go in the bottom door or the back door, slide in a bedroom window, however it may be. And I witnessed this once. I was in the bedroom where she thought my son would be because I had back surgery. So I was laying on his bed and I could hear a knock at the window. And my 16-year-old son had just gotten a newer used vehicle, which she did not recognize. So she's screaming through the window, "Who's in there? Who's in there?" And my son and I both woke up like, what just happened? Went outside. That is when she was driving erratically up and down the driveway at a high rate of speed. Stopped just 2 feet short of hitting me because I was not very bright. I stood right in the driveway with my hands on my hips, like, what are you doing? Didn't even let up till 2 feet and then finally stopped. Eyes were wide open. So whatever that indicates, I don't know, but wide open. So that was that instance. Basically, I agree with my wife. I don't feel safe going up there. She has many friends that have come on our property. Matter of fact, I confronted one of them, which JJ Lehman is the gentleman's name, and asked him why he was there. And he explained he was there for Tori. And I said, I don't want you on my property. I think right now you're trespassing. Let's call Burnett County and get them coming. Well. So we got in the argument, and his girlfriend thankfully convinced him to leave. So we didn't have an altercation, but again, another fine instance of something that we're, I don't know, I own a property and I can't even use my property. My son lives on the property, and whether she shows up whenever, however, it should not happen. We have the restraining order, and I swear to God, it's almost like it's a challenge. She comes there more now. So, and currently now, her stuff's stored at the house, her dog's at the house, and her kids come and stay at the house. Now, I don't understand why. And due to the previous altercation she had with my son. I don't know why you would keep showing up there with all of your stuff. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. I probably, Your Honor, went up there from Hudson, Wisconsin, no less than 2 days a week for almost a year, just to deter this. Didn't stop her. As a matter of fact, she bragged to me that she was at the house when I was sleeping there at the house because I was downstairs. So I don't know what it's going to take, whether it's, jail time, whether it's taking care of the damages she's done, however it may be, it needs to happen. Previously in her life, she's gotten out of pretty much everything with a slap on the hand and just don't do it, just don't do it. And I don't think she's learned anything. So it basically just comes down to that. And before all this started, I tried to talk to her and help her through things. And then after I'm a strong, independent woman and I don't need help. Okay, well, you're not getting my help. So, and I guess the only thing I would like to say in reference to Tori, and hopefully she's paying attention, is spend more time taking care of your children, having a consistent job, not drinking, not doing other things, and you would be a much better person. And I think that's where we're at with all this. I don't know what else to say or do that would sway you any other way. As far as what she could do to get better, to get back on track. So I guess that's it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins.
So I'm going to go back a ways because I think there's some important historical context for the court to understand why we are where we are now, as well as to give some context to the letter that Mott wrote to the court earlier, which I imagine was pretty confusing for the court if it didn't know the history.
It's not. For the record, I'm very familiar. This goes way back to, I believe, 2022 with Jordan Haskins and criminal charges. And then there was an injunction. And then quite honestly, I have had cases involving the Haskins in Washburn County. I've had cases involving Ms. Mott and the Haskins in Burnett County. I'm well aware, and I was just going to say, when you're done, I'm taking judicial notice of the 22 CF46 case with Jordan Haskins, as well as the other matters involving Mr. and Mrs. Haskins and Ms. Mott. But please, for the record, argue all that you're intending on arguing. I just wanted everybody to be aware. I have a really good memory and I recall the facts.
Sure. I'm actually starting in 2016.
2016.
2016.
Could go back to there, but I don't recall off the top of my head what happened in 2016.
You won't, because there's no case associated with
Okay,
it.
then I wouldn't be aware of that.
No, I'm going to be talking about law enforcement things too you wouldn't be aware of. In 2016 is when Jordan Haskins, with his then significant other, Courtney Strunk at the time, purchased the property we're talking about here. They lived together until in 2021, the property was quitclaimed entirely to Jordan. They eventually split up. 2021 is also the first time we had a domestic case with Miss Mott and Mr. Haskins. It was a domestic DC and battery. Because of his limited history, it resolved as just an ordinance in this court. Another incident happened that was more serious in 2022. Victoria was still residing with Mr. Haskins. Without bothering to go into the facts, because I don't think that's necessary, it eventually resolved with Mr. Haskins entering a plea to a domestic battery and a strangulation. He went on a deferred agreement with the strangulation. He went on probation for the battery. The strangulation DJOC actually ends in like a little under a month. The term of probation already ended because it was probation on one misdemeanor. During the course of the case, as many domestic abuse victims try to do, Victoria Mott tried to recant her statement. Because we had body cam already back then, we pursued it anyways because her statement on the body cam at the time of the incident was so compelling and Mr. Haskins was so incriminating. During the course, they both did the CRA class to start contact before the case even concluded. When he was placed on probation, DOC, regardless of what the court orders for contact or no contact, can always do their own thing, what they think is safe. And when they have a domestic battery probation where the person also entered a plea to strangulation, they chose to do just no contact at the start until hey, lay off the training wheels later. During the course of that probation, Jordan did continue to have contact with Victoria, and he served some jail time for it during the course of that. About a year and a half into that, Jordan transferred the property to his parents on a quitclaim saying no consideration. 2 days later, all three of them, his parents and Jordan, filed for restraining orders. Jordan would abandon his restraining order while Christy and Jason would get their restraining orders. That's the restraining order we're saying is violated here. This restraining order is a little unique in that it doesn't just prohibit contact at residences. It names specific addresses regardless of whether they're your residence or not. And this is one of those addresses. Regardless, Jordan Haskins has continued to have a relationship with Victoria Mott, as evidenced by, there have been many other of these reports, these referrals of these violation restraining order that we never charged because they were essentially Jordan admitting that she was there on his behest, or Jordan asking, is there anything I can do to end my parents' restraining order? He's continued to live at the same property continuously, even after he gave it to his parents. He seems to have continuously lived there for almost 10 years now. Part of what I think the victims have alluded to, Mott avoiding camera footage so successfully, that's how. He obviously knows where all the cameras are. He can aid her in avoiding those. Regardless, when we got the first spat of those referrals for that kind of restraining order, they weren't as severe. We actually met my office with Victoria Mott back then in terms of her being the victim of the past domestic abuse case, and explained to her, Christy and Jason Haskins have nothing to do with your domestic abuse case. This restraining order through the full faith and credit clause, if you violate it by going to this property, because it says go to the property, even if you have Jordan's permission, is a violation, and warned her if she continued to do it, we would be filing cases. She continued to do it. We filed these cases. The behavior got more and more specific and targeted towards the victims, Christy and Jason Haskins. There's really no reason for it at all for her to be doing that, especially when she's continued to have this on again, off again relationship with Jordan throughout the whole time. That is why in this case, Victoria Mott has no criminal history. So normally you'd look at this and say 3 convictions and a recommendation for 30 days jail right off the bat with probation. Is that too severe? No. I think you've heard the impact on the victims back there, how much it's distressed them, how much unpredictability it puts into their enjoyment of their property. And I think it's necessary here because of the repetition.
Mr. Felicki?
Thank you, Your Honor. In entering in this plea today, Ms. Mott is paying a price for her actions. She is accepting responsibility for them and is suffering the consequences. I agree with the state in that for someone who has essentially no prior criminal history, that in full honesty, looking strictly from the outside, a year of probation and a 30-day jail sentence may seem severe. I do want to clarify on the record that we are requesting eligibility for ankle monitoring. I understand that Ms. Mott has the funds available for that program. Just wanted to clarify that on the record. But I think that this is an appropriate recommendation of the Galleon factors. Ms. Mott actually was the one who proposed the 30-day jail sanction. I think jail is going to be very appropriate as a deterrent for future behavior, given the nature of this offense, and considering that she will be on probation for a year, she will be further supervised in the community. The community, Your Honor, will be protected from any further violations through this supervision by DOC. And the programming available to Ms. Mott through the department to address any potential mental health, substance use, trauma-related issues will allow her to address her needs.
Thank you. Ms. Mott, I do have your written statement that you filed here today, and I have read it and I have highlighted parts in it, and off the record or on the record, I believe Mr. Schmidt has indicated the state has received that and reviewed that as well. Would you like to make a statement here today in open court?
No, thank you.
I have reviewed your statement, Ms. Mott. It is very lengthy. There is no doubt in my mind that you have been a victim. You are a victim. There was domestic violence. There could still be between you and Jordan Haskins. The court was well aware of that back in the 22 SC case, and then having the 22 CF criminal matter with Mr. Haskins. You have been a victim of domestic violence. But in reading your statement, and I'm not going to read it out loud because again, it is very lengthy, but in reading your statement, you feel like you're the only victim. Like it's that you have been the one who is seen, who has been unjust, that the system has been actually harming you and not protecting you. You at no time acknowledge and admit your actions and what you have done.
Towards the end of the letter, I did, and I apologized.
You, yes, you
And-
apologize, but that's just like a child that gets into trouble, that has a tantrum, that does bad things, that the parent then goes and reprimands, and then the child continues to say, but it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's somebody else's fault, it's everybody else's fault. Oh, but I'm sorry, get me out of trouble. Don't punish me so bad. It's not a true apology. It's not a true apology. If you truly felt that you have wronged the Haskins, if you truly took accountability and responsibility for your actions, it wouldn't be 3-4 years later that we're still dealing with the same conduct. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Your relationship with Jordan is toxic. It's toxic. And I don't know if it's Jordan. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's the both of you. It is toxic. And you say in your letter, I'm very well versed in domestic violence. I represented domestic violence victims for many, many years free of charge. You make a statement that the system should know that victims go back to their abuser. They continue to go back to their abuser. That is very true. It takes approximately 8 to 10 times for a victim to leave their abuser before they have enough strength to continue and to move forward. I get that. But there is also this cycle of joint abuse, joint domestic abuse involving both the male and the female, or whatever the significant others are. The fact that you say that in your statement, that the system should know the victims always go back. And I went back and I'm continuing to go back and I see that he can change and I want to be there to help him change. It sounds like you're playing the system. You know domestic violence, you know the facts. You've went through the CRA class, the Community Referral Agency class. You're spewing the things that you want the court to know or to take into account. I'm aware of those things. If you're aware of those things, you should have, you know those. You reach out to your advocate, you reach out to your friends, you reach out to your family. You don't continue to go back each and every time to the place that you were ordered to stay away from. That was plain and simple. Back in the 22 SC case, the small claims case, you were told to stay away from that house. Then back in the 23 restraining order cases, you were told specifically in that order in black and white to stay away from that house. I can't, and I believe I reprimanded the Haskins as well back then. I believe I told them the words that they cannot control Jordan. If Jordan is an adult and if Jordan wants to see you, that is for Jordan to do. They can't control him. He is an adult. They cannot control you. You are an adult. However, they can control And this court can control whether or not you ever step foot on that property. And you violated it. How many times? More than these 5 or whatever times are alleged here. More than that. I believe Mr. Haskins. I believe Jason Haskins when he says you were flaunting to him that you were sleeping in the same house. I believe him. I don't believe you. I don't find you credible because this has happened over and over and over again. And I had to be harsh with Jordan Haskins in his criminal case. I've held him in prison, or not in prison. Luckily, he didn't go to prison. I put him in jail 60 days, 90 days. I kept increasing those days so he can understand the significance of having contact with you anyway, because he had no contact, but then with you.
This is the turning point of the entire sentencing hearing. Notice what the judge is focusing on here, not simply whether violations occurred, because those have already been admitted through the guilty pleas, but whether Victoria Mott truly accepts responsibility for her actions. In sentencing, credibility and accountability can heavily influence how a judge views future risk. The court is emphasizing a repeated pattern of behavior, prior warnings, and ongoing contact with a property she was specifically ordered to avoid. Emotionally, the judge appears frustrated by what he sees as continued excuses rather than genuine acknowledgement of harm. That frustration is becoming a major factor in how he evaluates punishment and public safety. Here's the question for viewers. If someone believes they have also been wronged, does that lessen their responsibility for violating a court order? Keep that thought in mind because the judge is about to explain exactly why he believes stronger consequences are necessary moving forward.
That they could with regards to those damages and the eviction. That wasn't an illegal eviction. I sat on that case. I heard everything. That was not an illegal eviction. It is not. You had your time to talk. You did not. I read your multiple
Claim
page.
deed wasn't filed for over a year after that.
Please don't
Your
stop. I told you to stop talking. I have so much empathy for domestic violence victims. And I believe that you were and could potentially still be a victim with Jordan. Again, I don't know. I'm guessing that this has never stopped. It has never stopped. You are addicted to this cycle. You are addicted to Jordan. You know he's not good for you. You know he's not good for your son. You know he's not good for your life because look at where you are. Now you're a convicted criminal. I don't know what you had prior to this, but now you are a criminal forever and always. And I'm harsh on you right now, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to guess that at one point in time, at one different case or another, the Haskins have thought that I've been harsh on them too. If you and Jordan cannot stay away from each other, if you and Jordan must be together, it cannot be on this property. You cannot step foot on this property one more time. Miss Haskins at this last one could have been injured. And I did read in yours that you said that she was holding you down or they were pulling your hair. Well, they were calling 911 or calling the police. They were trying to get a perpetrator out of their house. You're shaking your head. No, you were.
They were blocking the door so I couldn't leave.
You should never have
I know,
been
I
there.
understand that, Your
Not
Honor.
ever, never have stepped foot on there.
I know, I
But
get
that was your 20th time. And you're not getting it. You're just not getting it. You're risking your life. You're risking your son's life. You're risking your future, your reputation, all of these things. And I have to ask, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is Jordan Haskins worth it? Because I don't think he is. Not for you. And hearing the recommendation, and Mr. Schmidt was saying, well, 30 days, is that going to be too harsh? No, not when we look at the factors in those things. In his argument, I'm thinking, Is 30 days too harsh? Is 30 days too lenient? Because it happened over and over and over again, and it escalated. And I believe, again, Mr. Haskins, when he says he made those trips multiple times a week to try and circumvent this, to try and stop this, so you wouldn't have a clue when he was there. And I do believe his speculation that when he was sleeping in Jordan's bedroom, there was a different car there that you didn't recognize, and you thought it was another woman. And you went berserk. You went crazy. You did donuts in their yard. You could have been charged with criminal damage. So I have to look at this and I have to craft a sentence because this is serious. I have to craft a sentence that looks at you now, that looks at your past behavior, that tries to look at the crystal ball for your future behavior. And I need to protect the community. That means everybody as a whole, but in particular, the Haskins and this property. And to ensure that you understand that you'll get it. You'll understand you cannot ever step foot on that property. Never. If you do, there will be ramifications. So in doing so, the court is going to do 2 years of probation because that puts this out then to 2027. That puts us out to the length of the restraining orders or close to, a little bit over. That is the longest that this court can go for probation. And with regards to actually sentencing, I'm doing an imposed and stayed sentence. If I were to do a straight sentence, even the straight maximum possible penalty, that doesn't accomplish and won't accomplish more protection for the Haskins and having the hammer over the head to ensure that you actually understand it, that you're not going to do it again. I have 25 CM 30, which is count 6. And then I have the 2 other counts in 25 CM 125, which would be count 2 and count 3. In 25 CM 30, what the court is going to do is I'm going to do an imposed and stayed sentence of 6 months in jail. If you're revoked off of probation, you will sit 6 months in jail for that count. In 25 CM 125, count 2, I'm sentencing you to an imposed and stayed of 6 months in jail, consecutive to the other count. That means if you're revoked, you will sit a whole year in jail. That's a long time to have to think and to contemplate. For count 3, I'm sentencing you to 6 months in jail. That is concurrent to count 2, but consecutive to 25 CM 30. So again, if you're revoked off of probation, 1 full year of jail. That is a very long time. I am sentencing you to conditional jail on top of the sentence that I have already laid out. For 25 CM 30, count 6, 30 days of conditional jail. 25 CM 125, count 2, 30 days of conditional jail, consecutive to 25 CM 30. In count 3, 30 days of conditional jail, concurrent with count 2, but consecutive to 25 CM 30. 60 days of conditional jail. It hasn't been enough for this court to reprimand you. It hasn't been enough for this court to look you in the eye and tell you, stop, you cannot do this. It hasn't been enough for this court to tell you and to say, look, gasoline and fire. This is a very toxic relationship. It's a toxic relationship. It has caused not only Jordan Haskins to get into serious criminal trouble and to sit serious jail time, it has now gotten you into trouble, and you are going to sit serious jail time, which could be substantial if you violate your probation. While on probation, there will be absolutely no contact with Christy Haskins, Jason Haskins, or any of their family, including Jordan Haskins. So you'll figure that out. No contact with any of the properties, and that does include if you think you need to drive to the grocery store and drive by one of those properties, I'd find an alternate route. I'd go 40 miles out of your way instead of driving by that house or one of those properties. I am also ordering a mental health evaluation and follow through. I am ordering domestic abuse programming completion and follow through. Absolute sobriety. No alcohol, no illegal substances. Gainful employment. What was the longest time you sat in jail?
I don't recall, 30 days maybe. I don't know.
So you have a criminal history?
I got a misdemeanor once years ago for paraphernalia for, it was over 12 years ago, I think.
Wow, 30 days in jail for paraphernalia. They took that
Well,
seriously.
no, it was literally, I got arrested and then I just sat until I was sentenced pretty much.
Okay. Well, 60 days will be no piece of cake. The court is ordering $443 in fines and fees for the count in 25 CM 30, $200 DNA surcharge for the other 2 counts in the other case. I'm waiving the other court costs and fees. I don't think a financial punishment will have the same deterrent effect as having the jail time. In November, to be paid by the 15th of each month, of $50 a month to be paid towards your court costs and fees. If you fail to make your monthly payments, you could get a warrant and sit an additional 6 months in jail. I'm going to have Department of Corrections collect that since you will be on probation for the period of 2 years.
Your Honor, so what's the grand total that I will owe? If you could.
$843.
Okay, I can pay most of it today.
Well, I do appreciate that. How much can you pay today?
I'll pay $450.
$450? If you can pay $600 today, I'll waive the rest. But I can't waive any more because that's all mandatory. You
I'll
can
do
pay
it.
600? All right, so I will only assess $200 DNA surcharge per count, total of $600 to be paid today. And I'm doing that again because the financial aspect is not the punishment. The punishment is the jail and the potential significant substantial jail if you violate. I want you to understand what I see and what I understand. And I believe to some extent that Haskins may have an understanding of this either, or two. Jordan Haskins is not 100% innocent in this. You have been a victim of him as well. He has asked you to go to the house. He has played a part of this, but you are the one who had all of the risks, and then you escalated it with Mr. and Mrs. Haskins. They're parents and owners of a property that are trying to do right. You are an individual in love and you are blinded by that. Ms. Haskins or Ms. Mott, you need to, I say need, and you should respect yourself more. This is not something that you should want to be involved in. This is not a relationship that brings you happiness. It is not a relationship that brings you stability. It has only caused destruction and devastation for both of the families. I have I don't have a doubt in my mind that you are a good mother. I read it in your letter that you are giving your son stability right now while you're going through instability. That's a hard choice to make. I have a good feeling that once you're able to disconnect and get away from Jordan and to get some therapy, you're going to be a different person. And I don't think the Haskins are going to have to worry about that. You have to recognize your worth. And so far, you don't believe you have any.
Your Honor, in light of Ms. Smott's advice to me regarding potential property remaining, a personal property of hers remaining at Haskins property, we are asking permission for one visit accompanied by law enforcement for her to retrieve her personal items.
I don't believe I can do that in this order without the Haskins' approval of having law enforcement and having a visit to go there. I can ask them if they would approve of one.
The court's decision is now final. Victoria Mott receives 2 years of probation, 60 days of conditional jail time, extensive probation conditions, and an imposed and stayed sentence that could result in a full year of jail if probation is violated. Throughout the hearing, the judge repeatedly acknowledged that Mott had previously been a victim of domestic violence, but ultimately concluded that repeated violations of the restraining order could no longer be ignored. The ruling focused on protecting the victims, preventing future violations, and breaking what the court described as a toxic cycle of conflict. One of the most striking moments came when the judge warned that she must never return to the property again and stressed that future violations would carry serious consequences. This case highlights how courts balance victimization, personal accountability, public safety, and compliance with court orders when determining a sentence. If you found this case as intense as we did, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful courtroom breakdowns.